Project cars hit a point where they feel impossible. Nothing works, the interior's gone, there's wires everywhere. But if you keep stacking small wins like that, eventually they all add up. Today we're turning this shell back into a car and building some serious momentum on this once forgotten project. In the last episode, I tackled the biggest unknown of this car, which was the wiring harness. And the way I approached such an unknown project was by starting with the little things that I did know and built off of that 10% until I got pretty much all of it done. And that's the same concept we're going to carry through to the interior. I may not know the exact order of how all these interior panels go in, which clips go where, or exactly how they all mount, but I can take the stuff I do know and build from there. So let's start clipping some panels in and making some progress. Starting with this one, because I've been kicking this thing around since I brought this car over here, and I'm so afraid to like bend it because it's such a giant piece. So let's clean it up and get it in the car. Now this one interior piece may not seem like a lot, but putting this in means all the wiring that goes behind this is done. Our fuel pump on this side, the fuel level sender or whatever this thing is, all the way down to our little power outlet right here. All the wiring is plugged in and done, which means we can cover this up and move on. And that is how we build momentum. Quick tip for any of my Z guys out there, this access panel behind the driver's seat gets covered up with a plastic panel. What normally lives back here is a big steel thing that bolts underneath this plastic trim, and it's a provision for a subwoofer if you have the Bose audio package. If you don't have the Bose audio package, you can remove that big steel structure that holds a subwoofer and save a couple pounds of weight that's literally not doing anything. And if you do have the Bose audio package, removing the whole sub and everything attached to it is going to pull even more weight out of your car. And once it's out, you can cover it up and pretend it never happened. See, that's the thing about project cars. You can go weeks feeling like you really haven't made any progress, but you start getting panels in the right spot, wiring laid correctly, and you stack those little wins one at a time. Eventually it all adds up. With every project car comes a type of turning point where it finally starts to feel like a car again. It may just be a torn up old rear bumper, half of the trunk interior back in, but it's progress. A lot of people, myself included, quit projects before ever reaching this point. And it's not because we can't finish the project or we can't make enough progress, but it's because we hadn't built enough momentum to get to this point. While we've got the momentum and all the interior out, there's one other thing I want to tackle before we put it all back together. That's removing the sound deadening. I've removed that on pretty much every drift car I've owned, but I've never done a deep dive and really seen exactly how much weight you can pull out of it and if it's actually worth doing. So if you want to see that, there'll be a video coming in about a week where I cover what sound deadening is, why you would want to remove it, different methods to remove it, and just how much weight we can pull out of this 350Z by removing it. So make sure you're subscribed, stay tuned for that one. But for now, let's keep working on getting this thing back together.
2,000 years later.
We've got some serious momentum now. The sound deadening is officially out. Let me show you what it looks like so we can keep moving forward. Sound deadening out, a little bit of flat black paint just because there was some bare metal areas on both sides there. I also put some HVAC tape over some holes just so we don't get any water coming up while we're driving. And in the trunk, I think I'm going to leave it like this, kind of half stripped. We've got some interior in along the back and up over this guy, but I think that looks pretty cool. Saved a bit of weight. Happy with that. Now the next step is what's really going to start making this feel like a car again, at least on the interior. And I'm hoping I'm not getting ahead of myself here, but let's throw the carpet in. Now if you're looking at this carpet thinking, you just removed all the sound deadening, why are you putting the carpet back in? Doesn't that defeat the purpose of removing weight? Kind of. You see, this isn't going to be a race car. I didn't remove the sound deadening because I wanted every ounce of weight out of it. It's because I want a good blend of a street car and something I can enjoy on the track. And removing a little bit of weight is always going to make a better experience. Besides, with the standing water that we found in this thing earlier, I figured might as well just get rid of anything that could be related to that just to make sure it's clean. But on the topic of weight saving, before I throw this carpet in, I am going to remove some of the heavy insulation on the bottom of this, and we'll think of this as a lightweight factory option carpet, if that ever existed. Now it may be a little early for this. I don't really know. We still have some unknowns with the wiring, a few things that haven't quite worked out just yet, but I think all the wiring we need to mess with, if we do, is going to be up under the dash on one of these two sides, and the carpet doesn't cover any of that. So I think we'll be all right. Plus, I'm tired of kicking this thing around. I'd rather it be in the car. What if... I think we gotta do it. One thing that's helped me out tremendously on this project, and that really helps on any of these kind of big projects where you're putting stuff back together, is having the right hardware. If you've ever bought random hardware from the auto parts store, the hardware store, you know that it's not as good as what the factory stuff is, which is why I think anybody who works on cars needs something like this. This is a super simple plastic organizer I got from Harbor Freight, and it is filled with factory Nissan nuts and bolts. And I sorted them all by size/thread pitch. So like these are all 10 mil or M8s, whatever you want to call them. There's a bunch of different sizes, but they're all the same thread pitch. So you just kind of dig through here, find what you want. Say, okay, this will work to hold my fender on, perfect. These are 10 mil nuts, same thread pitch. Same thing with 12 or M10, and they get bigger over here. And then these are like specialty suspension stuff. And these are all coarse screws. So a lot of the interior is held together with this kind of stuff. And again, you can source this from the hardware store, but having factory Nissan stuff helps so much. And I get it, if it's your first project, you may not have a ton of spare hardware laying around like I do. But every time I work on a car, whether I'm fixing something or building it, whatever, if there is extra hardware, like that crashed Z that's getting scrapped, whatever I wasn't going to use hardware, I made sure to save. Or anytime I go to the junkyard for a specific part, you know I'm going to take extra hardware off of anything close. Even if there's not a 350Z there, there's probably going to be an Altima or a G35 or anything in that realm. Most of the hardware is going to be pretty similar. And I think it pays off so much to have a good assortment of factory hardware for whatever car you work on. I work mostly on Nissans. Back in the day when I had 240s, I had a literal 5-gallon bucket just full of 240 nuts and bolts. They weren't neatly sorted like that, which saves me a ton of time. So if you have a giant bucket like I used to, take the time to sort it all out. It will help you out in the future. That's my little tip on this one because it saved me a ton of time putting this thing back together, and I'm sure it will continue to do so. I can't believe a giant pile of parts and a completely stripped car has turned into this. Now we're still far from a running car, from a completed car, but this is beyond motivating to see this much progress. And this is what I feel a lot of people don't understand about motivation. People want to wake up and feel motivated so they can get the work done. It doesn't work like that. I wasn't motivated to start this project or to even continue it after I got the wiring in, but I took action, I did a few small things, and I let those actions build momentum. And the momentum is what's created the motivation. Because with every interior panel that went in here, I built a little bit of momentum. And every one that went in meant one less on the floor, which was more motivating. And it just snowballs until you get to where I'm at now. And I've still got a long ways to go in order to have this thing be a running, driving car. But boy, am I a lot more excited to get it done. Enough talking, let's cut to the montage because the interior has transformed entirely. The next time you're not motivated to work on your project car, remember motivation is the third step. You've got to take action, let those actions build momentum, and the momentum is what creates motivation. So get out there, start turning some wrenches, let the momentum build, and let's get some work done on our project cars.